All rise. We will obey. Please be seated.
We're in open session, Your Honors.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ago, how are we doing with time?
We're a little slow or slower than anticipated, but I'll try to be more efficient in the next sessions and remain within the confined terms of the 6 sessions or 7 sessions that we provided the chamber yesterday.
All right, thanks. Proceed. Witness, welcome back. Ms. Ago will continue her questions to you.
Witness, before the break, you told the court that there were 2 opposing parties, the PNU and the ODM. And my question is, from which ethnic group did the majority of the ADM supporters in your area come?
Ni kabila la Kipsigis na Jaluo.
It was the Kipsigis and the Luo, as well as some Luyas and some Kipsis.
I'm asking you about the majority. Which was the majority ethnic group supporting the ODM in your area?
Kabila la Kipsigis.
The majority was the Kipsigis.
And for the PNU party, from which ethnic groups did the majority of the PNU supporters in your area come?
Ni wa Kikuyu.
The majority came from the Kikuyu ethnic group.
And going back to the day of the announcement of the electoral results, from that day until the end of the year 2007, could you please confirm where were you living? Using the PIS if necessary. Thank you.
Nilikuwa nikiishi katika nambari 2.
I was living at location number 2.
Were you also location number 2 at the beginning of January 2008?
Ndiyo, nilikuwa bado naishi nambari 2.
Yes, I was still at that location.
And sir, it is not disputed that there was post-election violence in your area. Did you observe any yourself?
Ndiyo, niliyashuhudia yote.
Yes, I did observe it.
Could you please briefly tell us what you observed?
Baada ya tarehe 30 rais kuapishwa kama
After the announcement of the results on the 30th, the president was sworn in, and violence started.
Please tell us what you observed in your area specifically.
naweza nikasema siku hiyo
I would say the following. On that day, I was in a certain gentleman's house. After the announcement of the results, PNU supporters started celebrating. I saw female supporters of the PNU who were celebrating, singing. They were accompanied by certain men. And the men and the women formed a single group to sing together. They were singing and going towards the road. There were a lot of people there. And these groups told us to go back, not to go to where the others were present.
tukaendelea kuimba hapo tu.
We stopped there and we carried on singing.
This is not to stop you necessarily, but in terms of what you're saying to try and do with time, it's up to you to consider whether you need to have this witness tell the story of post-election violence from his perspective. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm simply saying you need to think about it, whether you really need that. Especially if you say there is no dispute that there was post-election violence in his area. It would, of course, be interesting to get all the details from each witness's perspective of that violence. It will be interesting, but there comes a point when procedure or proceedings demand whether we really need that. It's your call for now.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Sorry, if I may. At page 31, line 19, something hasn't, he apparently said that he joined that group, and it's not in the transcript.
A witness, my question was whether you witnessed any violence, and I understand you described to us or started to describe to us something, but what I'm interested in is whether you witnessed any acts of violence during the post-election period.
Nilishuhudia machafuko yakitokea.
I said that I witnessed acts of violence I was an eyewitness of certain acts of violence.
And what acts of violence specifically did you witness yourself during this period?
Naweza nikasema kwamba nilishuhudia vita.
I would say I saw war. I went to the place I talked about, and some people were throwing stones at us. And that is how the acts of violence started.
Did you witness any other act of violence apart from throwing stones?
Nilishuhudia vijana wakichoma manyumba.
I saw young people burning down houses.
And who were these young people burning down houses?
Mr. President, perhaps we could have a timeline to when these events occurred. For the time being, it's not clear when these events occurred at all.
Ms. Zago, proceed. Anything that's not clear, Mr. Fowl will try and clarify during his time.
Thank you. Witness, my question was, who were these young people that you saw burning down houses?
Niliyoshuhudia wakichoma manyumba. Kwa sababu ni vijana nilikuwa nawajua. Nilishangaa sana, ilikuwa vijana wa Luo na Waluya, tena vijana wadogo wadogo sana. Walikuwa kimbia na chupa ndogo za petrol wakirusha kwa nyumba.
These were very young people who were running around with bottles of petrol, burning down houses. These were young people under the age of 15.
Mr. President, I think there is something missing in the translation. I think I did hear the words Luo and Luya mentioned by the witness, but it did not come out in the translation. Perhaps that could be clarified.
I can clarify this with the witness himself.
Nasema vijana waliokuwa wakichoma nyumba. So,
We're in open session, Your Honors.
Thank you.
Witness, you said before that after Mr. Raila Odinga made the statement that if the ODM were to lose the election, there would be a bloodbath. And you said that people understood that there would be a war. My question is, was there a war or not?
vita ilikuwa.
A war did indeed take place.
Between whom?
Kati ya wafuasi wa ODM na PNU.
Between ODM supporters and PNU supporters.
Witness, during the 2007 campaign, in particular the months preceding the elections, how did you keep yourself informed of the events?
Kujua mambo gani ikitokea, kwa sababu hapo anasema kujua mambo. Ni mambo gani hayo?
You asked me about what would happen. I mean, what event are you referring to?
I'm referring to the political campaign. How did you follow the political campaign, if at all, prior to the election?
Nilikuwa nikisikia kupitia kwenye radio na kupitia kwa watu, kusikia kwa watu.
I was following it over the radio or by hearsay when I listened to the people who were discussing in the region.
Are these the same radios that you mentioned before the break?
Ndiyo, ni radio hiyo hiyo.
Yes, indeed. Over these same radios that I got all this information.
Do you know if in your region there are vernacular radios?
Ndiyo, katika stesheni kuna radio kabila nyingi sana.
Yes. There were several radio stations that broadcast their programs in the vernacular, but I only listened to those 3 radios I referred to.
Your Honor, I'm about to embark in a line of questioning that may lead us to Rule 74, but for the time being, I believe we can conduct the questioning in public. I will be mindful and request appropriate measures when the time comes.
Thank you. Mr. Mutai, you've also heard that the prosecutor has signaled they were about to embark on a line of questions that engage your particular interests. But
I've heard, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. Please proceed, Ms. Sago.
Witness, do you have any information as to how the violence started in your area in 2007?
Vurugu ilianza baada ya uchaguzi mkuu kutangazwa.
The acts of violence started after the announcement of the election results, that is, the general election results.
My question was whether you had information as to how the violence, not when.
Sikujua, nilishuhudia yakitoka.
I didn't hear, I saw it myself. I saw acts of violence myself, which started after the results were declared.
Prior to the 2007 elections, have you ever attended any public or private meeting where the issue of violence was discussed? Please answer yes or no, and then we'll go into private session if necessary.
Ndiyo, nilihudhuria.
Yes, I took part.
May we go to private session for a follow-up question, Mr. President?
Private session.
We're in public session, Your Honors.
Witness, do you recall when you were interviewed by the office of the prosecutor that you signed a written statement?
Ndiyo, nakumbuka nilihojiwa mwezi wa 6.
Yes, I do remember. I was interviewed from the 18th to the 22nd of June, 2014. Or rather, 2012. From the 18th to the 22nd of June, 2012. That's a correction from the Swahili booth.
Do you recall having signed a written statement at the end of that interview?
Ndiyo, baada ya kuhojiwa walinipatia stakabadhi.
Yes. After the interview, I was given the statement, and I was asked to sign the entirety of the statement.
And in addition to this written statement, is it correct that on the second day the interview started to be audio recorded as well?
Ndiyo, kwa siku ya pili walianza kuchukua rekodi.
Yes. On the second day, the interview was recorded.
Now, can I ask kindly the court officer to please direct the witness' attention to a document, Ken OTP 0072 0397, which can be found at Your Honor's bundle number 1, tab 1. And the version to be the document.
You lost your microphone?
I believe so.
Correction did come in from the Swahili booth that the witness saying the interview was audio recorded.
Thank you. Ms. Zagu, Do you now have your microphone back?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Court Officer, could you please confirm whether the witness had the opportunity to review the first page of this document?
The first page of document KENOTP 00720397 is being presented to the witness.
Now, witness, could you please look at the bottom of the page? And do you see 3 initials at the center of the bottom of the page?
Ndiyo naiona.
Yes, I can see that.
Are those your initials?
Ndiyo.
Yes.
And now, please, court officer, direct the attention of the witness to page 0420 in the same document.
Page 0420 is being shown to the witness.
Witness, can you see that there is paragraph 1 after the section entitled Witness Acknowledgement at the top end of this page?
Ndiyo nimeweza kuona.
Yes, I do see that.
And is the signature that we see at the end of this paragraph yours?
Ndiyo, sahihi ni yangu.
Yes, that is my signature.
Mr. President, I can advise that we have an agreement with the defense teams that for purposes of identification of the tapes.
We're in public session. I'm just warning you, but you may proceed if you think you can give that information in the public forum. Go on, please.
Yes, I believe I can make that submission in public session. There are a set of 28 transcripts corresponding to 28 audio files, and we have an agreement with both defense teams that we do not require the witness to identify his voice on the tapes, and we don't need to play the tapes to the witness now to proceed further.
Point of clarification, Mr. President. I think that what Ms. Sago said did not completely capture what I understood the agreement was. We suggested that they should test the witness with what is contained in the transcript until such time that the witness denies what is contained in the transcript as what he said, then they can put to him the audio. But otherwise, we have no objection to them proceeding as if what is contained in the transcript is also what is contained in the audios. We do not, as a defense team, oppose or deny, we do not deny that what is contained in the audio is in fact the witness's voice. We do not deny that. But at least as a matter of procedure, there's no need now to introduce the audio until such time that the witness denies that what is contained in the transcript is in fact what he told the investigators. Thank you.
Ms. Parsons.
Indeed, we share these observations, and just to clarify, the authenticity of these tapes is not in dispute, and that is the voice of the witness is not in dispute. But indeed, if there is any issue later on, then maybe we need to hear it. But at this moment, we have no objection to the tapes not being heard.
In fact, my submissions were directed to the authenticity and identification for the time being of the fact that those audio files pertain to the interview with this witness. We were not discussing the content yet.
All right, we can proceed. Let me not speak too fast. The correction